All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us here on this 7-day challenge. Today we are introducing Rachel. And Rachel, do you want to tell us like a little bit about yourself and what you do just to kind of get started?
Yeah, I call myself a woman empowerment coach. I help women embody tenergy. And I just really believe embodying tenergy, which means that you're a 10 and you feel like a 10. And feeling like a 10 has nothing to do with what you look like. It's how you feel, it's the energy you exude, it's how you make other people feel because you're feeling like a fucking 10. And then what happens as a result is you just manifest your soul aligned life. So I've been talking a lot recently about how I don't chase goals because I really believe we set goals from our ego, what we think we want. And it might be partially true. Like, and it could be true. Like maybe you're just really tapped into your intuition. You're like, this is my goal. But I find even if it's coming from that place, if like your ego is involved, and ego is always involved in a goal, right? Ego is always involved in a goal because it wants to control, it wants to achieve. It's like, how do we strategize to get there? And anytime that happens, it's not completely connected to our essence. So I really believe in cultivating tenergy, which comes from what standards do I need to set for myself? What boundaries do I need to set for myself? How can I get really excited about life and then watch life bring things to me and then be able to respond to life and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, like that matches how I'm feeling right now. Or like, I'm really excited. Now I have that idea. Um, so I just love helping women get aligned because I really find that when they feel like a 10, that's when you get unstuck. That's when life starts flowing with ease. And I'm also a proponent of you don't need to be a 10 all the time to manifest your 10 life. Like I posted a story or a post a couple days, a week ago with my coach where I'm like crying because I'm feeling stuck and frustrated in my business. And I also really like to honor that part of woman because the feminine is everything. And we can't reject like the whole messy, chaotic parts, but it's really good to learn how to accept and surrender to the yucky, uncomfortable parts. And that can then feed even more into your energy.
Yes, I love so many things that you said, but I think one of the biggest ones that stood out to me was just like our egos and how like no matter how much we try, and I think this kind of ties into a lot of like third chakra work. It's like no matter how hard we try, often our ego trying to combine like the unconscious and the conscious, like picks up like these stories about like who we should be or what we should be doing. And it's like when we think about like if we didn't have to do anything, what would we actually be doing? Like for some people that can be really challenging. For other people it's like we're just a couple steps behind, like the ego has a little bit of a hold, but like also we like tap into like more intuitive spaces. But I just loved what you had to say there because I feel like so often we, and especially as women, we kind of operate from this place where we're like, it's almost like a performance, and we have to like peel back those layers of figuring out like, who are we underneath, like, who are we as individuals, and using our own autonomy and our own will to like generate our enthusiasm. Because, like, without any of that, we don't really have that like excitement and that drive to push us forward towards our goals. We kind of end up being like these, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of like just kind of like going along with what we're being told, like very obedient, not really questioning authority, like in a respectful way. Like I feel like there's when we have excess or we have deficiency, that can amplify things or make them a little bit softer. But yeah, I really enjoyed what you said about like who acting from a place of like what lights us up, and I think that's like very much what um third chakra work is all about, is like figuring out who you are underneath all those layers of what society and your parents and everyone's been kind of like the stories they've been telling you.
Yeah, yeah. 1,000%. It really is the move from seeking external validation to feel happy and looking to the external world to being able to source that joy and happiness yourself and noticing from within what lights you up instead of what you think, like spot on to what you said.
I feel like you've had a really amazing journey with like coming into your confidence and coming into like your fire. And I am curious, like, what were some of the biggest, most breakthrough things that helped you to really step into the place where you're at here, where you're like hosting women's retreats, teaching women empowerment, like helping them step into their 10 energy? Like, what were some of like the big pillars that helped you get to where you are today?
I would say that the first time I realized how powerful we were, how powerful surrender was, and how much you couldn't really trust yourself, was before I even got into coaching. I was 25. I had been on like a 16-year health journey. I was obese when I was a kid, didn't talk, very quiet child, didn't have many friends, and went to a weight loss camp because I was obese and everyone else wasn't. And I thought that was what was wrong with me. And I thought that's why I didn't have friends and why I didn't understand like how to fit in. And so that kicked off like 16 years of disordered eating. I got my degree in nutrition. That didn't solve I thought like the more research I did, the more I learned it would solve the problem. Like I could be thin and I wouldn't be this obsession that took over my whole fucking life, because I'd stay up till 3 a.m. researching most nights for like 16 years. Got my degree in nutrition, then became a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And what happened was, it was like, okay, well, if I go to this school, then I'll finally be there. I'll finally be there. And I just hit a rock bottom after it all. And I think, this is like a story you hear with a lot of people where they keep going and going and going till they have to surrender. And I got to this place where I was like, I can't bear to look at any more research. I can't bear to look at anything else. Like, none of this is helping. I feel more stuck than ever. So I just went back to the basics and I started eating whole foods. I was like, okay, I know I need protein, veggies, fruits. I'm going to like limit grains because they feel kind of weird when I eat them. I basically ate paleo and I wasn't measuring how much I ate. And before you know it, the body that had always been so hard for me to maintain and get to just like was there. And I wasn't thinking about how much I ate. I had more energy than ever. Like I barely had energy in college because I was kind of like starving myself a little bit. Like I was counting calories. I was working out constantly. I was a fucking maniac, like with work and everything. And so it was the first time I realized that, holy shit, if I just let go and I just return to the basics, I can listen to my body, because now my body doesn't want to binge anymore because I'm getting all the nutrients it needs. And so it really taught me this lesson of like, nourish the shit out of yourself. Like listen to your body, notice when foods make you feel good and notice when foods make you feel heavy, notice when you're hungry and stop when you're full. And I ended up eating like 6 meals in a day instead of 3 meals in a day, because I would get hungry, I would eat. I would get hungry, I would eat. But then I had like the body I'd always loved. And so I began to think, how do I apply what I learned here to other areas of my life? So I had always been terrified of women. I found just women terrifying. I was terrified of people, had horrible social anxiety. So I decided to attend retreats, and that completely like blew me out of the water. I really just became a person where if I was afraid of something, I was going to do it and surrender to it, because there was something to this surrender. And that really gave me so much confidence. And it primed my nervous system to go through really scary things and tell myself that whatever happens, whether it's a failure or a win, that I'm going to come out the other side a better me, as long as I stay regulated and keep looking for the lesson. And I would say it's that concept that got me here and has thrown me into things over and over again. Like for example, I say a lot, the best things that happened to me the last 3 years was filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy and having a house fire where I almost got stuck with $100,000 bill. And I had to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy because of a malicious lawsuit where I was getting sued for $1.2 million from when I worked with my dad. It was like an accredited investor who came back, who was suing my dad and wanted to sue me. I just wrote emails for my dad. I didn't do fucking shit.
Oh my gosh.
He lost money in a fund. My dad had a big trading fund, and this one guy had lost money compared to everyone else and wanted revenge. So, fucked up shit that happens in life. But that at the bankruptcy actually ended up saving me when I had a house fire at my first retreat that they tried to stick me with $100,000 bill. But I'm so grateful for those moments because they were terrifying. I wanted to shit my pants, and I stayed regulated. And I found in the long run that they taught me so many lessons and are really some of the cornerstones to how much confidence I have today, oddly enough. And I really believe it's because, well, I mean, from the bankruptcy thing, I learned a lot about like finances and how to protect yourself and how to build my credit back. And now I'm getting into all these new wealth things I wouldn't have gotten into. And then with my retreat, I learned about contracts and like how to protect myself at retreats and with fires and what to look out for. And so yeah, I would say it's those things that really helped me build the confidence.
I love that so much. I feel like you first started with the root chakra, like nourishing yourself, like building that strong foundation and that sense of like safety within yourself, like that seeking, that outward seeking, like all of a sudden came back and you started like building your foundation, like tapping into your pleasure. So now you're very rooted in your first two chakras. And then even when you are met with those obstacles, you're met with those challenges, like you've got that fire burning really strong. So it's like, okay, if this doesn't work out, like we're still going to pivot. It's not going to like, it might set us back, but it's not going to make us quit, And I feel like that's like a very big testament of having like a very balanced and strong third chakra, is that like, we're just going to keep burning whatever life gives us. We're just going to keep burning, learning, moving on. It only makes whatever we feed the fire just makes it stronger. Like whether it's hardship, whether it's like rejection, whether it's like all this shame now coming up, whatever it is, like we can use it as a lesson as opposed to as like something that like makes us quit, because like when we're not really strong in ourselves, our body isn't a safe place, like whether that's our nervous system or we're not nourished because we're not eating and sleeping, or we're just like working too hard, whatever it is, like when we're not strong in ourselves, one little obstacle, like I know this is how I am. If I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not sleeping, if I'm not tapping into my own joy, like periodically throughout the day, like one thing goes wrong and it's like enough to like tip me over, but like on the opposite side, like when I am feeling really nourished, a challenge is a challenge, like it's not something that's obviously going to be easy to overcome, but you have more like will and enthusiasm to actually do it without like making it knock you off track entirely.
Yeah, actually a cool example, this happened to my friend. A really fucked up thing happened, I guess, to her, for her, whatever. Back in May, or no, it was June, beginning of June. And I just happened to be, she's in a different state. I just happened to be in that state with her, like when all the shit went down, and I like could resonate. It's like, oh girl, like I get it. Like I've been through the bankruptcy. Like I feel your pain. Like this is pain. And I told her about my bankruptcy story and that story. And I was like, you just got to breathe low and slow. And this is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And she like really took that to heart. And we had a phone call like the other week. And she said, Rachel, like, I am like that situation. Like I've processed, I've healed, I've moved on from, and I feel unfuckwithable, almost like dangerously unfuckwithable.
Yes.
Like no one can fucking get me now. So yeah, 1,000%. Like, they're the things that make you.
Yeah. And shape you. And I love what you said about happening for you, because I think that like a big thing about like building confidence and like taking autonomy and taking responsibility for our own lives is like not placing blame on anything, like once we like blame others, or we blame our external experience or whatever it is, we want to blame our parents for our upbringing, like no matter where we want to put the blame, like it shifts the responsibility outside of ourselves. So then we don't feel like we have to make the change, because it's not our responsibility. We're waiting for that other person to change or the situation outside to change because we don't feel like it's our responsibility. So I love like that mindset of like, maybe this is the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life, but like have that like mindset that like, this is just the beginning of something beautiful, even if it is a bankruptcy or a divorce or like a really significant loss in your life, like if we can keep that like vibration of optimism for, like maybe we don't understand it right now, but like eventually this could be the best thing that ever happened to us. Like I feel like it helps overcome the obstacle. It's like going on a hike and knowing the view is going to be amazing, but knowing that you're going to have to like go past a really steep cliff and it's going to suck really bad because it's like a steep incline for like 4 miles. Like that idea of like the view and the perspective and all the things that we're going to be able to see at the top like makes all of that pain and all of that hardship worth it. But like without that, I mean, if I didn't think that there was going to be a beautiful view at the end of my hike, I probably wouldn't do it.
That is like the best analogy. That is it, hands down. It's keeping that hike analogy in your mind 1,000%.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you work with your clients and you are helping them to step into their tenergy, what are some of the things that you kind of preach to them? Like, or what are the things that you help them work through? What are some like common themes that come up? Stuff like that.
Yeah. So a huge theme that comes up in my coaching and my retreats is slow down to speed up. Like that was something we said constantly on my last retreat, which is why I like in-person stuff, which is why what you guys are doing is so exciting, because you guys are going to have these phrases that come up at your retreat and everyone's going to bond over them. So like slow down to speed up. And something I've really found, one of the things that blocked me from coming into my tenergy, which is why I'm a big fan of slow down to speed up, is this like hustle mentality and like go, go, go. And it's never enough. And once you start working, it kind of becomes like addictive when you're coming from scarcity, especially like because if you're coming from scarcity, you're like, okay, just one more thing, this thing, I'm gonna check my social media, I'm gonna do this. So really, like, how much can you breathe and take your time and tap into what's giving you energy throughout the day, instead of like kind of getting like on this like up and up skill where you have this anxiety in your chest. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, that like buzzing in your chest.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really big part of it. I teach a lot of people unwinding. So I'm really big into somatic experiencing and somatic type therapy. And unwinding is a practice where you really tune into your body, and your body will like move in like weird ways. Like it will like unwind into like this like weird pretzel if you're really tuning in. Like you really have to like sit and breathe and like notice the tension and then allow your body to move with it. Unwinding is such an amazing tool to release freeze response from your body. I see that we have 9 minutes left, so
Yeah, I'm trying to like update or upgrade
okay.
soon, but I don't know if it's gonna happen.
So unwinding is a really amazing practice because we all live in a chronic freeze response. Like most people, like I would say like most people, I don't even want to put a percentage, I just feel like it's most, are walking around in a chronic freeze response. It's why our body goes at certain situations. And so unwinding is tapping into like the fascial layers where a lot of like emotions and memory are stored, and allows you to really get into your body. If I want to figure something out, I will no longer think about it. Like that is like my top value, my top standard for myself. It's like, you are not thinking about this. You are going to unwind, throw the question up to the universe, and you're going to unwind and get in your body. You're going to go on a walk. You're going to like have a high vibe conversation. And through one of those things, usually I have to unwind to clear the stuck energy out first, because when we're trying to think of something, you kind of get in this like contraction mode. Yeah. And so that's where the unwinding is really helpful. But then once you've gotten in your body, how can you get into a new state? So that's another thing. I'm also huge on community and building sisterhood for really getting there, because, and this goes with the standards thing where I said have standards. Like I will not have a relationship with someone where I do not feel an energy exchange in some way anymore. And I can say that's not who I used to be. I used to not have that many friends, so I was open to anyone being my friend, and I was open to just being the people pleaser. And that blocked me from having deep connections, number one. because I was not really being true to myself. I was just like wanting anyone to like give me their energy so we could like talk and like I wouldn't be alone. So really setting standards for who you hang out with. And I believe in paying for your friends, like hands down. Like you want to live a badass life, for your friends, like pay to go to your guys' retreat, like pay to be in a program, pay to be around people, because the people, I'm willing to bet if someone's watching this or coming to your retreat, like they want to live a fuck yes life. Like they want to live their dream life. They want to be really happy. You have to be around different people. And I really find it's the people who pay to play, the risk takers, are the ones who are going to do no matter, like do whatever it takes to get to that lifestyle. And so get around those people. If you're around people who are like, yeah, but I don't want to pay, I shouldn't have to pay for my friends, I want something free. That's an energy. That's like a scarcity energy.
That's
And
like fucking dry energy.
yeah, it's like dry pussy energy. Like it's
No one wants that.
like you, like I just believe in pay to play so hard. Let me think, what else?
I love some of the things that you said though, because I think that like very much like what we do, me and McKinsey do, is like embodiment work. So like when we're feeling like disempowered, right? We like tend to like hold those patterns of like closing ourselves off. And just by like moving, like one thing that you've really, really inspired me with is all of your walks that you go on. Like I'm an avid walker now. Like I go outside and I go for walks because I see you out here having like these like deep thoughts, like these deep breakthroughs while you're out on your walks. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I need. Like I'm stuck. Like I need to get out there and walk it out. But it's the same with like doing a yoga practice or like whatever your style of movement is, whether it's dance, like or martial arts, whatever, like it really is like so profound and shifting like your energy, you know, not just like your physical body, which like obviously when you have more comfort, you know, but also like you're more expansive, you're more like able to expand, you're more flexible in certain ways where like maybe like those things might have broken you before. So I think that like that's really important. And I think yeah, there was something else that you said that I really resonated with too, but I was trying to update this Zoom so we could keep going, but I don't know if that's going to happen while we're on the computer today. So we might just have to cut it short here in 4.5 minutes, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, totally, totally cool. One more thing I want to say around that is I find it really helpful to use some sort of like spiritual divination tool. So like I like to use astrology or human design. I use both to give you the courage to take big leaps and moves in your life and have awareness and intention. Like I really believe like the keys to tapping into your intuition and feeling into the thing that's right for you, the big scary move you need to make, is awareness and intention. And I think astrology is such an amazing way, and even your human design. But I really like using astrology and like where the transits are. And if you know your rising sign, you can know what house, which is basically what area of life it's transiting. And then you can put your attention and intention into that area of life, like knowing this energy is affecting it right now. So then when things come up in your life that are around that area of life or that energy, you're like hyper focused on like what's in this for me? Like how can I shift? How can I move? And you can take that personal responsibility as you talked about, because you're like, oh, this is like my opportunity to like step up or take the leap or
Time to shine.
yeah, like Saturn is moving through my 6th house right now, which Saturn wants you to like, while it's in Pisces, wants you to set boundaries. And 6th house is like coworkers and work. And I had a situation come up in the beginning of June where sometimes I overgive to people I hire, and then I'm like, fuck, like I just drained all my resources. And like and then it's not an equal value exchange. And because I knew Saturn was in my 6th house and I had to be more responsible with setting boundaries, I was like, well, fuck, I have to like grow up and like set a boundary here.
Say the
And
hard thing.
yeah, and I did. And then it was like all good. And I was like, holy shit, that's an up level. So I also believe in using that stuff, like using tools like spirituality to give you the confidence to take those leaps.
I love that. It's like you also said like putting it up to a higher power, you know, like not like focusing so hard on like what the outcome is going to be and what the next steps are going to be, but just like surrendering it and knowing that like whatever is going to happen is going to happen, and being guided by things, whether it's people outside of yourself, like a coach, or, you know, like a really, really good friend, someone that you can call for like, just like bring you back down to earth, or tools like human design or astrology. Like there's so many different ways depending on what you resonate with that you can start to navigate the steps forward, you know, but like it's that idea of like taking responsibility in the first, that's like that's got to be like the first step forward, and like understanding like how just like taking your personal power, you know, like, and understanding who you are and how you fit into this like big divine web of a world. So I think it's so fun that you include astrology and human design in your teaching. So when you work with your clients, are you like, you figure out what their human design are, you get their chart, and like this is how you coach them? Because that's really fun.
Yeah, I have this like really I have like this photographic memory for if I'm passionate about something. So if you come to my retreat or you're my client, I know your whole chart. Like if I read it once, I know it all. And so I'm constantly reflecting on what is going on in their chart with what we're coaching on or what we're doing at the retreat or what they're saying. So yeah, it's a huge way in which I guide people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you were like, it was like that deep, but I just think that that's great. I mean, like, I feel like in times when I've been in containers, when we like are talking about like our human design and how we can make that work for us in our business, like those are some of the times that I found like I felt like they were speaking directly to me, you know, like sometimes people are talking and it's super broad and whatever, but then they're like, you're a generator and this is what you should do in these situations when you feel stuck, and like this is the chakra that you need to tap into when you like need an idea. I'm like, oh, okay, that's like really simple. Like, thank you.
Right? It's so helpful